Bear with me. Okay, we're recording. Good evening and welcome. This is a Pathway CTM Job Ready session. As you know, it's in collaboration with the Careers and Enterprise Company. And we're looking at apprenticeships and life after, and we're looking at it with the Thales Group. We're going to learn more about what Thales Group does, who they are, what they're involved in. I've looked at the slides. I've done a bit of research. I'm quite excited about what I'm about to find out. This isn't your sort of bog standard, boring type of job. It looks quite exciting. The advantage of tonight is we're actually meeting a few different apprentices and ex-apprentices. So what questions you guys have about future, what it looks like, what happens after an apprenticeship, you can ask those questions and you'll have them answered this evening, okay? So when we look at things like that, as we go through the session tonight, we've got the chat box, we've got the Q&A box. I'm in charge of those, so I'll be keeping an eye on those and seeing what's coming in. I know some of you have already found the chat box, which is fantastic. Use that. We might ask ad hoc questions as we go along. Stick your answer in the chat box. If you've got a specific question that you want either myself or one of the team from Thales to answer, put it in the Q&A box. We might not answer it straight away, but when we get to the right point, we'll answer it as we go along, but at least it will sit there. Get it out of your head and put it straight down so we can answer it. And remember, although we have a Q&A session at the end, what we don't want to have happen is everybody wait until the end for the questions and answers, because it might be relevant as we go along, okay? And also, let's get the guys working tonight. Let's make sure that they're busy, okay? We don't want them to relax too much. When we look at tonight, you're probably wondering, if we're talking to Thales, who are you? My name's Max. I work for Pathway CTM. I'm the outreach manager. So what does that mean? So my job as an outreach manager is I spend my time going into schools at the moment virtually, and for the future, it's going to be virtually as well. So I spend a lot of time on Zoom sessions like this, talking to students in their classroom about how to write a CV, how to prep for a one-to-one interview and pass it, how to prep for an assessment center, okay? What are your future options, okay? And I know all of this stuff because I spend a lot of time working with companies to find out what are your application processes like? What do you look for in a student? What opportunities do you have? And what does a student need to have to be successful in your company? Then I can bring that information to you. The other part that I provide as well is that students, once you've come to our sessions, you can then say, actually, you know what? I'm really interested in applying to Thales. We'll have a look and see when there are opportunities available. And when you get there, you may be like, I need to make sure my CV's ready. So you get in touch with me and we'll go through your CV and make sure it's ready and it looks good. But then also you might be invited to an assessment center. We're going to find out if Thales does one. Who knows? And if they do an assessment center, you might be like, well, I've never done one. How do I prepare? Again, that's why you get in touch with me and I provide that support. I'll have worked with Thales, so I know what their assessment center looks like. I can't make you pass it, but I can make you prep for it. And that's relevant for all of the companies that we work for. And this is what I do. That's what my job is. And then Pathway CTM, why do we exist? Exactly for this. We want to bring companies to students, and we want to bring students to opportunities, and we want to open your world to see all of these exciting things that are going on. And we're going to find out from Thales in a second what it is they've got going on. Okay. I have got a poll that I'm going to launch now. And then whilst you guys are answering the poll questions, we're going to meet all of the people from Thales that are going to speak this evening, and then obviously you'll see them as we go along. But let me launch that poll and go through the questions quickly. So we want to know which of the following applies to you. Have you left school or college within the last 3 years and you're looking for opportunities? Have you left school or college more than 3 years ago? Are you year 13? Are you year 12? Are you a year 11? So are you potentially looking at opportunities right now or in the future, or trying to understand better what's available and out there and what you need to do to get into those opportunities? Are you a teacher or advisor, or even a parent looking at your students or your sons' opportunities or your daughter's opportunities? Okay. Have you been to one of our job ready sessions before? Okay, we've been running these for quite a while. So either you've been following the series closely, or you've been to one before, or this is your first one. And more importantly, which region are you from? I want to know. Are you Northeast, Northwest, Midlands, East, Southwest, Southeast, London, other? Okay. And what are you hoping to get out of this session? Do you want to hear about Thales Group and the opportunities available? Are you into cybersecurity and want to know how you can get a job in cybersecurity? Do you want to find out about apprenticeship opportunities? Or do you want to know anything to do with space and aerospace? Sounds exciting, so therefore that's why you're here, okay? Those are the questions. Go through those, and I'm going to let us meet the first person from Thales, and then he's going to introduce the others as well. So, good evening, Neil. Welcome to the session. How are you?
Hi, Max. How are you? I'm good.
I'm good, thank you. So tell us about you.
So I'm Neil Flack. I'm the manufacturing manager for Maritime Mission Systems for Thales. So we're based in the Southwest, and we have a site of around about 800 people. And we'll talk about that a bit more later about exactly what we do. But as the name suggests, we support naval defence with things like sonar. And really, we're here to talk to you today about not just apprentices, graduate schemes we can talk a little bit about, and then about full-time occupation as well. We're on a growth where we're trying to get probably another 30 people into our business, into the different ranges of sonar. So it's an exciting time for us. But I have brought some friends, obviously, because I've been in this role for about 6 months, and I've been in Thales for about 4 years. Previous to that, I was in Leonardo Helicopters, so building helicopters, which is quite exciting as well. And I spent 17 years within that business. And as you know, I'm actually an ex-apprentice, so I was an apprentice within that helicopter firm, so I know a bit about apprenticeships. I've brought with me 2 people, so 2 of my managers. So we're a technology company, by the way, but for some reason we're all in the same room, and I'm going to use the one laptop to turn to people. So we haven't quite nailed down IT skills, but we're pretty good at making sonar. So bear with me one moment. So I'll firstly introduce Nick.
Hi guys, so my name is Nick Finn. I've been in industry for over 30 years. I also worked for Leonardo. When I worked there, it was called Western Helicopters, and probably people will recognize it more as that. Worked there for 25 years before coming across to Thales 8 years ago. I work as one of the industrial sale managers within industry.
Tom, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Tom. So yeah, I'm an ex-apprentice. I joined Thales about 3 years ago. I've since finished my apprenticeship, and I'm currently an engineering technician.
Fantastic.
Okay, really smooth transition now, Max. Over to Sam.
Hi guys, I'm Sam. I'm manufacturing sale manager. Been in the industry for 6 years, so I'm not as old as the other 2 gentlemen we spoke to. Joined Thales as an operator, and have been able to progress through the company into my current role now. So, and we're explaining about the opportunities coming up later.
And then we have one final member of the team. I'm hoping Jade's now dialed in.
She has.
Yeah.
Jade, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jade. I'm a manufacturing engineering technician. I joined Thales in 2017 as a level 3 manufacturing apprentice. I'm currently on a level 4 apprenticeship to become a manufacturing engineer.
Fantastic.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the team.
That's the team. So that's your friends. Fantastic.
Friends, yeah,
Now-
my clever friends.
Good. And look, so for the students that are on the session, what's really important to understand here is, look, you're meeting people from Thales and Thales Group. You'll understand more about what they do, because at the moment it might be a bit like, who, what? But we'll explore that a little bit more, and we're going to leave those guys to explore that for you. But what I want you guys to understand, look, you've got ex-apprentices here, people who are doing level 4s as well. If you have questions about that, ask, but also look at the opportunities that are available. We talk a lot about apprenticeships, degree apprenticeships, what can happen, and there's a lot of questions that often come back, and it's like, yeah, but is an apprenticeship worth it? Because then what happens at the end of it? Do you actually have a job, or is it just something they say and you then have to just leave and go and work somewhere else? Ask the questions here maybe today, and we'll find out. We're going to put these people to work, and we're going to get as much information out of them as well. And we'll look at the different opportunities available, and we'll explore that more as well. So we've met the panel. Let's have a look at those poll results. So let's see what we've got. I'm going to end the polling, and I'm going to share the results on the screen so everybody can see it. So which of the following applies to you? 53% of people in year 12, 18% year 11, and 12% year 13. That's good. Have you been to one of our job ready sessions before? So 53% say no, this is their first. And then 29% have been following the series closely, which is good. Which region are you from? So Southwest is largest representation with 29%. And then we got 29% in the Southeast and 29% in London. Those were all equal. We're going to find out from Thales as well where they're based. Do they have just one place? Do they have 2 places? Do they have 3 offices? Are they multinational? Who knows? We'll find out. What are you hoping to get out of this session? 53% have said they want to find out more about apprenticeship opportunities. Okay, and 29% have said anything to do with space and aerospace sounds exciting. Okay, so maybe that's a reason why people have joined in as well. It's well, space and aerospace is always exciting, but maybe not always available. And we've already got some questions coming into the Q&A box, so which is good. Okay, so let's get rid of the poll. Thank you for voting in that and sharing the information. Results are in. We've done that. We're going to pass over, so I'm going to hand it over to Neil. Neil is now going to drive it with his team. I'm going to sit quietly in the background and just interrupt Neil every now and then when we've got questions coming through. So, Thales and early careers, let us know.
Okay, so what I'm going to talk you through is a little bit of an overview around early careers at Talis, and then we'll go into some specifics around what Sam and Nick look for as managers of apprenticeships, and then also what Jade and Tom's experiences of apprenticeships were. And I'll add in some of my own thoughts. Obviously, I started as an apprentice, and I would definitely always recommend an apprenticeship. Obviously, it's worked out well for me. I've spent 17 years within a business in senior manager roles, and I've come across the Talis and use my apprenticeship skills and what I've learned within another business to progress here as well. So if we go through the slides, and we've already said to Max, it's going to be a bit like the presentations from Boris. I don't want to be Boris, but can I have the next slide, please? So a little bit about Talis. I don't know how much you know. So when I worked at Leonardo, we used to call Talis Fails because that's how it's spelt. But when I got here, they told me not to call it that. I have to call it Talis. So Talis is actually a worldwide company. So it's across 68 countries. And even in the UK, we have multiple sites. So the largest of those sites is in Belfast, Glasgow, Cheadle, Reading, Templecombe, London, and Crawley. So they all do different things. We work in different areas, which is space, aerospace, defence, transport, and cybersecurity. If you look at our site here in sunny Templecombe, we work in the defence industry. So we work on naval defence. So what we try to do is we build products that go either on the side of a submarine, maybe a nuclear sub. It might dip into the water and look for mines. It might trail behind a sub or a naval vessel. And we build items and products that go out and search for things. Send signals out and with engineering, with the clever people in engineering, come back and let us know what's there. So we're in the defense industry. We supply to countries all over the world. So at the minute, if I looked at Sam and we looked at one of his products, which is a big Kinder egg that goes into the water and looks for mine, it's mine hunting. If we look at that, Sam's currently building one for Korea, one for Saudi Arabia. We've got one for the Royal Navy. Who else have we got? Oh, one for Italy. So we have customers all over the world. It's a renowned product. We're a leader in our field, and that's what we do. Cheadle is linked with us. So Cheadle have an element of naval defense, but they work on the stuff that goes inside the boats. So if you think about, we do on the stuff that's on the exterior, the sexy panels and the stuff that mine hunts, and they do the stuff that's inside of the boat. And there's stuff that goes on in all these. Some of the people do missiles. Some of the sites look at ground transportation for London. Some of the sites do Watchkeeper, which is a drone that flies. So we're involved in everything. It's a wide, varied range of skills and expertise needed on each of these sites. Obviously, it's not just made of engineering and technology. It's made up of people that need to buy the stuff. It's made up of people like us that need to make the stuff. It's made up of engineers. It's made up of all sorts of areas. Planners, people that plan the work to be done. Project people that own the projects and the cost and spend. Lots of finance people that have to worry about the pennies. So there's lots of varied roles within these sites as well. So that's the areas we work in. If we go to the next slide, please. So this is the slide that I would say is like the headline. So this is the sexy slide. It doesn't get any sexier than this as we go forward. So apologies for that. But if you just look at some of these facts, like 2 out of 3 aircraft in the world take off and land using Talis equipment. 1 million passengers use Talis in-flight entertainment systems every day. So that's another area that we operate in, is commercial flights and in the entertainment. 80% of the world's banking transactions and secures information systems of 90 of the world's largest banks. So if you look at that, we do a lot on cybersecurity. So we have an area called SIX, and SIX is always involved in technology and security. We could have done with them today actually to work out all the webcams, etc. But that's their field of operation. If you just keep on reading through, you see there's an area about us. So there's 50 navies from submarines to aircraft carriers, and 50 land forces from infantry to vehicles that we support, and 70 types of aircraft. One of the important things for me on this slide is not just the business itself, but when you look at who we support. So if you think about us as a business, obviously, as I said, there's people that are buying stuff. A lot of the elements of our products are bought out. So we use suppliers to supply them. So if you look, 1 new job at Talis equals 3 jobs in a SME. So that's really important. If you look locally, a lot of the, so I was formerly the procurement manager at Talis Templecombe. So when I look at the supply chain that we use, there's a lot of local suppliers. There's a lot of smaller industry companies than you'd probably imagine that we use here, they're all supplying into us to make our products. We don't make the lower level stuff ourselves. So obviously we're quite important to the local ecosystem as well. And then if you look at the employees, there's 80,000 employees across 68 countries, which is a lot of people employed doing what we do. Like I said, there's around 800 locally on site here. We were quite a small site in Templecombe that's grown over the years. And now we're probably at a limit of what we can do. So our expansion is underway. We have a new £20 million facility being built for manufacturing. So that's being built in some land we've acquired, and that will house all of my team. So on site, I have around about 105 people that are making the products, and they'll all be based within this facility, making our defence equipment. Can we go to the next slide, please?
You can. And when we look at that slide as well, and what I want you guys to think about as well is what Neil said, when that point that he made that is so valid. When you look at a company and you look at its name and you look at what it does and you think, well, there's only opportunities in that. It's not, because look at what Neil said. You've got finance, you've got planners, you've got people who do procurement, which means those people go out and buy things. Literally, they go out and buy and they try and source things. Look at how they work with companies nearby. There's so many opportunities in a big company like Thales that you have to understand. It's not just one thing, it's many different things. And this is what we want to open up to you. And we'll see more of that as we go along. And you can see that it's also expanding. But also, when you saw that slide of all the different areas that they're involved in, that means that you could be involved in those areas as well. It's not just one thing that you do. It opens up a lot. And listen to what Neil said as well. We'll hear from others too, but we've only heard from Neil so far about where he's come from, what he's done. Previously worked with helicopters, now works on this side as well, and it's all linked in together. So you'll start to see that there are opportunities that will open up for you. Even if you choose this as your starting point, doesn't mean it's going to be it for the rest of your life. It will open other opportunities to you. Okay. Sorry, Neil, carry on.
No, you're fine. It's a good point, Max, because if you look at my background, actually my apprenticeship is in business. So I did 1 year of a sixth form, and I started doing, I think we did AS level into A level. And actually the problem for me, and we'll talk about it later, is I had enough of not having any money. It was fine to keep on doing education in the sixth form environment, and I enjoyed the education. But actually I found the apprenticeship would mean I'd learn business as well as do this. It wasn't 100% right for me, the business apprenticeship, because I feel some areas of procurement and finance were fine, but other areas, obviously they want you to do a bit of admin here and there, which is fine on a business apprenticeship. But really I wanted to learn the business model and management and leadership. And that's what I did. I now run manufacturing. I'm not from manufacturing, but the skills I learned in 17 years from becoming an apprenticeship were things like who to call when you've got a problem, how to build relationships, how to run a meeting, how to make sure actions are taken, how to make sure we structure things. And that's what I hope I bring to manufacturing. The guys here know how to make things. When you want to be a manager, it's not about doing the job. It's about actually leading in the right direction and the motivational side. So that's my background. So within this, when we look at early careers programs, we're going to focus on apprenticeship today because that's what we do. But there's interns, there's graduates, and there's apprenticeships within Thales. In the apprentice, we have, there's only 4 levels written there, but I noticed later it mentions a level 7, but we focus on the 2 to the 6. And the guys have already spoken, and they'll speak later about the level that they've come in at. So that's really where our foundations of our early careers is in the graduate program, the apprenticeships, and the intern. Can you go to the next slide, please, Max?
Certainly can. And we've got a juicy question for you already, which might start a bit of a debate, but it's one that's well worth asking. And it's Bruno that's asked it. And he says, so why are apprenticeships sometimes less highly regarded if you're going to achieve the same qualifications?
As something like a graduate, you mean?
No, well, yeah, like, because if you do a degree apprenticeship, right, you're still going to get a degree exactly the same as you would at university. So why are they less highly regarded by people?
I don't think they're less. It depends what industry you're looking into, really, Max. I think for me, I think if it's apples for apples, actually the apprenticeship wins. Because for me, the people that I knew that did apprenticeships were a bit like me, where actually they knew everyone on site, they knew the business. Some things you can't teach in a classroom. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be a graduate, and I'm not saying not to do A levels. It's just the path that I chose. And don't get me wrong, the money was absolutely terrible when I first started my apprenticeship. And I took some right paths to get where I am today. But for me, I enjoyed being in a working environment. It's a shock to the system, but I enjoyed that aspect. I didn't want to be in the classroom anymore. I'd done classrooms, and actually being able to have day release into a college to learn the bits that I wanted to learn, as well as getting paid, as well as learning a job and meeting people. And the social aspect, there was probably 30 people my own age in Leonardo, or Westlands as it was called. that were doing the apprenticeship. So there was a big social aspect as well. So yeah, to me, I will tell my children, well, I'll let them choose the path they go on. But for me, an apprenticeship is a fantastic way to go. And I definitely don't look on one above the other. I think it depends what industry you're going into, but I don't know what the guys think.
I mean, personally, I don't see it as a blocker. If you look at Thales Temple Combe in particular, our current MD, a man called Phil Jones, or he's just exiting the company actually, he started here as an apprentice, and he's worked his way through the business to get to MD. So, you know, there's absolutely no way it's a blocker. I think it's a fantastic gateway to a career.
Yeah, and it's the same at Leonardo. So the first two MDs I knew, they were ex-apprentices. The head of operations there, who ran every single aircraft build on the site, was an ex-apprentice. I was an ex-apprentice. I'm not quite as high as those, but I was an ex-apprentice. So there was a lot of head of programs was an ex-apprentice. So like I said, it's different skills that you learn. But I think for me, the fact that you know a business, you know how it ticks. Everything I use here is what I learned at Leonardo. I just learned how to run a business, how to motivate people, how to lead teams. And you learn early on, it's the people that make a business tick. So it's all about relationships. I don't know everything in here. I certainly didn't know everything at Leonardo, but I knew that my friend that I'd worked with for 5 years or I'd done my apprenticeship with certainly knew how to do the planning or another element. So yeah, for me, there's not one right way here. Everyone's got to pick their own journey in life and their own path. But for me, we're here to talk about apprenticeships because that's what we're promoting at the moment.
And it's all of the points that you guys bring up are really valid as well. And I think one of the things that I would say in answer to that question as well is that when we talk to businesses, when we talk to industry, and I've been involved in apprenticeships and degree apprenticeships for a while now, when we look at it, businesses actually value them very highly. And like we've said, sometimes higher than a degree because of that practical experience that you get. And they are valued, they are very highly regarded. Where they're maybe not so highly regarded is, let's be perfectly honest, is maybe in the education system by either teachers. That's not true for all of them, because there's a lot of information put about UCAS and university, and there's a lot of information about university. But then also we know, and I've worked in recruitment, of early career recruitment and recruiting people onto apprenticeships, we know that parents are a big blocker because there is this idea that an apprenticeship is not worth as much as a degree. Well, that's wrong now. It's gone. That's finished. That's over. They are worth as much and sometimes more. But like Neil said, you have to choose your path. Do you learn well at university? And is that what's going to enable you to be successful? And are you happy to pay the tuition fees? Great, go for it. There's nothing stopping you. In fact, Thales have graduate roles. We've seen that, but we're not here to talk about that. But they do have graduate roles. But similarly, you might want to go and get started in work and get paid for what you're doing and learning. And we'll hear from the apprentices afterwards. And they'll tell us what they think as well. But there's those two sides to it. Maybe it is better for you to go straight into the workplace and learn that way and start getting the experience, start getting paid and get the qualifications at the same time. So businesses really do regard apprenticeships very highly. Otherwise, they wouldn't be investing so much money in it. Okay. Sorry, Neil, carry on.
No, you're fine. No, it's all valid. So these are the areas we offer apprenticeships in. So hardware, software, business and finance, systems, electrical and mechanical. And so when we look at apprentices, we're focused on manufacturing and engineering. Obviously, that's the field we work in, and that's where we target. But there's areas of other options. And when we talk about, just to pick up on what you said, Max, one of the bits of advice I would give people, obviously I can't see anyone, is if you're going to go to uni, pick the right course and have a plan. So when I was head of supply chain at Leonardo, I was picking people out of the stores. And one guy was picking foam out of a box. He was more educated than me. And I took him and I put him in my team because he had the education, but it's what you do after you get that education that's key to me. I had another guy who worked in the store. So I think his education was in renewable energy, but it's what you do with that. It's what you do with that afterwards. So yeah, graduate programs are good. But yes, it's going to uni and then not having a plan, I think it is something I would never promote. Always have a plan.
So that's maybe something that the apprenticeship can offer, is it enables you to accelerate that learning and to put it into practice in an adult environment straight away, which can often be a daunting experience. So I think that's the key point there. It can accelerate your learning in a professional environment.
Yeah. Can we have the next slide? I think everyone's seen the areas we offer. So we'll get into the meat of it in a moment. Okay, so this is the apprenticeships. This is the features. So it's entry level for school leavers and upwards. So when we say that, we have apprentices this year that have come into me at 26, 27 years old. So we've got school leavers. So they go from, was it 17? We've got on the shop floor. We've got 16-year-olds on the shop floor. And now this year we've taken in a couple of 26 and 27-year-olds. So it is a wide range. Some people go off and do something, and then when they get to 26, they actually, that apprenticeship sounds really good. Let's go and have a go at it. Others know what they want to do when they leave school. It's typically 2 to 4 years in duration with a minimum of 12 months. And you study towards your qualifications alongside work. So we offer, so if I was to talk through a standard week here at the moment, so we're actually on a contractual 4-day week for my teams. So they do 4 days, but one of those days is a day release at Bridgewater and Taunton College. So it's 1 day release plus 3 days in work. When you're in work, there's also allowable time to study. So we're pretty flexible, actually, probably too flexible, but we're pretty flexible with the amount that the guys do. Obviously, we're in a heavy manufacturing environment here with the stuff we're working on. So it's not always ram busy for the apprentices. There's some stuff they can do when they join. There's some stuff they can't do. So to fill the gaps, we let them study as well. There's different levels available, as we said. So this says 2 to 7. I've never experienced a 7, but I know the 2 to 6. And there's different delivery models. So there's day, block, and virtual. Okay. The benefits, we spoke about some of them, but it's a fully funded qualification to avoid debt on paying for the qualification. So Thales pays for your qualification at the college. You apply your learning in real life environment. So if you take the manufacturing apprentices, and they'll talk about it in a minute, I'm sure. So they learn something at college, and actually it gets backed off with the work they do here. So if they're learning a certain element of technical engineering, they're having to show that they're doing it in the workplace. So they sign off with the work that they're doing here, which is good. And earn whilst you learn, which I love that phrase, earn whilst you learn. So you do get paid far too much to be an apprentice for me, as Tom and Jade know. But that's a big benefit of it. It's obviously sets you off in your own life. Like I said, I started studying A levels, and for me, the issue was always you're sort of still in school in that sixth form environment. It was more relaxed, but it was nice to get in and earn some money. I certainly wasn't paid what they're paid today. I know that when I started off as an apprenticeship, but there you go.
It gives you an early independence as well.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, early independence with earning some money, getting a job, becoming into adulthood, really, isn't it? You're learning your new skills. And you're straight into an industry environment. You're learning how people interact with each other. You're making new friends, and you're learning about work. Can we go to the next slide, please?
And the other, and as we do, I just want to mention a couple of things that you pointed out there. And when we look at level 2 to level 7, and you mentioned some of the apprentices are 16 years old. So for those guys at home that are trying to figure this out, so at level 2, you can finish your GCSEs and you can go on to an apprenticeship because it's considered full-time education because you're working and learning at the same time. Yes. So you can go and you'll start level 2 and you'll start your way up. And we know people that have worked their way up to get the degree afterwards. And you'll get paid all the way through, and obviously your salary increases. And as we've seen, like Neil said, inflation has meant that apprentices are paid a lot more than when he was young.
So I'll be honest with you.
Can we ask the question how much they get paid now? Because somebody has asked it, what is your salary?
Yeah, no, it's fine. So we've actually got a really good payment plan here, because actually they get 6 monthly pay reviews, which is more than I get, I'll tell you that. So they get a 6 monthly pay review, which starts at a number, and then if they don't perform, it gets less. That's where it's at, and they normally get the number because they're an apprentice and they perform. So if I was looking, I'll give you an average number because it is an important question. So if you were coming in on the lower levels, I would say 13 grand, 12 to 13.
Yeah, 13,000.
Yeah, 13,000. If you were coming in on a bit of a high level, it would be 15,000.
Okay.
And then the review would generally be between 1,000 and 1,500.
Yeah. So every 6 months.
Every 6 months. So
every 6 months.
Every 6 months you go up by 1,500.
I need to talk to my boss.
You quickly accelerate through.
Yeah,
and through your apprenticeship, you come out on pretty good money.
So if you looked at that versus someone starting employment with me on the lower level, so although they're paid more to start their employment, the apprentice, like Tom and Jade, will come out on more money because they're a qualified, semi-skilled, I'll call you, Tom, because you're not quite there yet. Apprentice. So actually, you end up with your £1,500 every 6 months. You end up at a higher level of employment than some of my full-time staff. So I think that's a good starting wage. like I said, it's more. I don't know what it'd be interesting to see what the people watching think, whether they think that's a good wage or not. If we could ask them that question.
Yes, it depends where you live as well.
Yeah, it depends where you live. So this is the South. This isn't London. The people in London don't comment because the
I
apprentices.
can't say anything then. I
No.
shan't say anything.
The apprentices in London might be on a different grade.
There
So
will
this
be
is
a
just for
different
the
structure.
Southwest. Yeah.
But then also, I
Basically,
think you need to think about the situation as well, because if you're a 16-year-old, you probably are living at home, so your living expenses are less. But but you're working and earning, and earn while you learn is exactly the phrase. But also, what was being explained earlier. So when you're on that apprenticeship, you're learning, and what you learn, you put it into practice straight away. So it's very different to a degree where you would learn all the practice. You learn all the theory, and then 3 years later you go into a graduate role, and then you start to put into practice everything you've learned. What they're doing here in an apprenticeship, and we'll hear from Thomas and Jade, and they'll tell you that they learn, and then they go and put it into practice straight away, and then they evidence what they've learned, and it goes back and it goes towards their qualifications, and then obviously that 6-monthly review as well. But you'll learn it, and then you put it into practice. And we've seen certain industries, like Neil has mentioned already, that once you've maybe done the apprenticeship, let's say you do 2 to 4 years of apprenticeship, you'll have been putting into practice everything you've learned. Somebody comes out of university and has learned what they should do for 3 years, but has never put it into practice and has never experienced it, so might be slightly behind. Obviously, for some sectors, going to university to do a degree, like if you want to be a surgeon, you're going to university. You're not being an apprentice. I don't think you can learn like that. I certainly wouldn't want an apprentice operating on me, but this is different because you're putting it into practice. So anyway, so we've got the salaries. They look good.
Yep.
They make sense. The 6-monthly reviews, that's more than I get. So like I said, I'll have a word with my boss and see what he says. But yeah, this is fantastic. Okay, carry on. Next slide. Let's have a look at the timeline then.
So what will happen is you'll go into the Talis group and you'll apply. There's an online application form. Can you still hear us, Max? Because it just said our internet's a bit unstable, unless that was yours.
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, cool. Okay, so November, the positions are advertised. So this year we went a bit different. I wasn't happy with the way we were advertising, so we actually went out on social media as well quite heavily. A lot of us published it with the local schools, etc. And so positions are advertised. February to May, we have then we have the online aptitude and strength test. So that happens with all the applicants. So I think this year we closed in January. So we had positions advertised in November. We closed applications in January. And then we get people to do an online aptitude and strength test. The people that pass through that gate then come on an assessment center, which happens February to May. So to give you a live example, we completed our assessment center last week, Sam, Nick and I. And in that assessment center, I'll give you a bit more to that. Actually, I wasn't going to, but I'll give you a bit more meat on the bone. So that involves, it was virtual. So imagine it's in a room, all virtual, and it involves team building tasks. So that you get set a challenge and it's watching you how you work as a team to solve that challenge, which was good. After that, you have a one-to-one interview with one of us to talk through some set questions. And we all take one candidate each. And then you have another team building task. On this team building task, this example was you had to choose which company to buy based on the information that was around. And then at the last minute, we chuck in something else. So then you have to change the way you're thinking and come to a decision together. The big thing on the assessment centers, the big feedback we gave people was actually, you don't have to be the leader on these tasks. Number one, listen to the task. Number two, make sure you have your say. So even if you're not the leader and you get that little bit of time at the end to talk, make sure you take your moment and really take it controlled, structured, say what you're thinking, talk about other people's opinions, because that's the important thing. The important thing is for us to see you. You don't have to be an extrovert to work for us. Sometimes we just want someone that's just going to get the job done, but it's important that you show us on that day. So we do the assessment centers. We actually made our decision last week on the day that we'd employ all 9. So we had 9 people come in. We decided that we take all 9. We had some quieter people. We were happy with them. And we had some people that were true leaders. So we took them on as well. And then September, they start the role. So in September, you start the role with us. And that's all done. So in the time frame from November to September.
And that information is actually really good, because we've got a couple of questions in terms of like, have you got apprenticeships open? Well, no, you can see that the application, the positions will be advertised in November. You've heard how the process goes. And remember, students, what I said at the beginning, that when you are signed up with us and you're interested in this, and in November, you're seeing these opportunities coming up at Talis, then you'll be like, okay, I'm interested, but they're asking me to an assessment center and I've never done one before. You get in touch with me and I'll prep you for this. I can't make you pass it because of everything that Neil just said and how you were assessed. They're looking at you as a person. They're looking at you as a human being. And we go through that and I will show you the kind of things that you need to think about and what you need to prepare. It's not a competition. It's an assessment center. They want to see how good you are, not how good you are compared to somebody else or how you compete.
Yeah.
But then when we look at this, and somebody's asked a really important question, Neil, how amenable are you to people with learning difficulties such as dyslexia?
Yeah, so currently, if you look at our shop floor, we've got a varied skill set, haven't we? Yeah. So we've had to support some with some challenges. So we got some build record books, for example. So if you look at the build record books, it's obviously a handwritten book in some of our areas. And so we have to support people through that. But yes, at the end of the day, it's the right person for the right role. And that's it. So yeah, we have people with learning difficulties on the shop floor in different forms.
And particularly in manufacturing, not everybody we have working for us, and this goes for apprentices as well, is necessarily academic.
Yeah.
Some people are more practically minded. And in the manufacturing role, that's exactly what we're looking for. So in terms of our apprenticeships and what we look for people within the organisation, it's very wide and we cater for everybody.
I think it's dyspraxia that I have a couple of guys in currently on the shop floor. I think is it dyspraxia, which is So we have to work with them and we help them and we develop them through.
Okay, there you go. Perfect.
We can go to the next slide if that's okay. So this is me and my last bit I'm going to talk about, hopefully. So this is a little bit about our apprenticeship. So I've already explained maritime mission systems is what we do, and we work in defence. And we've got sites in Templecombe and Cheadle, which we've spoken about, inboard and outboard. In 2020, we took on 8 apprentices, and this year we've just obviously accepted 9. We're actually looking at one further apprentice that we may take on this year that is applied for a role. So that would be 10. That's more than we've ever taken on. It's going to be a challenge for us because essentially when we move to the new facility, we've got 6 shop floors at the minute. We're only going to have 3, which means we've got a lot of apprentices across 3 shop floors that we've got to manage. So we're doing that. Also, when we talk about apprenticeships, we don't just bring people in as apprentices. So currently I've got 10 people on upskill. So I've got 10 employees that are currently going through mature apprenticeships, I'll call them. So they work for me full time, but actually I give them day release and they complete. We pay for it under an apprenticeship because I've got a lot of money in the levy fund. But essentially it's upskill courses for my guys that work for me. So we've got 10 people doing that as well. So we'll have about 30 people going through an apprenticeship of some sort, which is a big commitment from us. When you do an apprenticeship, actually I'm paying for you when you're there. So not the apprenticeship itself, but actually your time comes out of Thales. You're not working on a job and the customer's paying. We're paying to upskill you. You do 6 monthly placements across different shop floors and also manufacturing engineering. The 2 people that are going to talk to you, Tom and Jade, are actually Judases because they left me to go to manufacturing engineering after their trial there, but we're all for it because we always need the help. But a really, really good, strong placement in manufacturing engineering, really interesting. So we'll talk about that. And then different shop floors, like I said, so we're making big panels. So a lot of that is chemical based and it's layers of build. We've got towed array, which is a lot of electrical fine wiring and things like that. We've got all sorts going on. We've got mechanical work on big heavy duty towed bodies. So there's a bit of everything. When we talk about people that work in manufacturing, there's different skills within that. And so you get to experience all of that. You go to day release to Bridgewater and Taunton College because that's our partners in Thales to do your studying. This year it's been difficult, but a lot of it's been done virtually. And then post completion, because we've talked about this, Max, you get a role within our MMS industry team. Obviously there's a probation within that. But if you look at Tom and Jade and the other apprentices in their year, they all work in industry. Post that, apprentices move on. So we talk about apprentices in a business. So there's a guy who works on STEM with me. He's now in finance. So he's gone from manufacturing to finance. We've got guys that now work in off-site teams. So there's 2 of them actually in Korea right now fixing something. So there's opportunities in the business. This is your foot in the door. We want you to stay.
They're in Korea?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty cool.
So So yeah, Korea, Bahrain, Saudi, all the countries that we mentioned we supply to. So we've got 2 ex-apprentices in offsite, haven't we? Field service. Yeah. So we've got 2 ex-apprentices that are in field service. Our main feed is into engineering. So obviously we give them the education, and then they've got experience in product and engineering. So engineering actually take on quite a few of our workers. So we don't want that. We don't want them all to go through. We want people to be the next me. I'm looking for people to come in and take over my job or Sam's job or Nick's job. That's why Jade and Tom are here, because that's the future. But there is other routes. It's not just come into this company and work in manufacturing. There's all sorts of opportunities available.
And those juicy roles aren't just for people who have moved out of manufacturing. I mean, I've got somebody within my team who's an ex-apprentice who's now a prototyping technician. In the last 2 years, he's been to Thailand, to Australia, to Denmark, to Estonia, to Scotland.
All the exciting places.
Yeah. There's quite a vast amount of travel that some of our guys do as well. We need to support quite a lot of off-site work.
That makes sense. And that answers the question. Somebody did ask a question: did the apprentices get the chance to go abroad? I think that's a yes.
Yeah, you do. Obviously, a lot of the apprenticeship is based here because it's intense, because you've got to do your college as well as do your role here. But once you complete, we have so our team support off-site. So when you install one of our systems, the best people to help install it is the people that built it. So we have 4 or 5 that regularly travel. But yeah, and then obviously you've got all the other Thales sites as well, and there's opportunity to go to those other Thales sites. So most of the ones you see we would have been at. That's my slides. I'm going to pass to Nick and Sam, who are going to talk through my. Is it working, Max? Them talking through my mic, but with their videos on.
Yeah. Works perfectly. As long as they
Okay.
give it a bit of volume, we're good.
Yeah.
And just to let the people online know, we're getting into the last 15 minutes. There's lots of questions in the box, so we're going to make these guys earn their money tonight. But don't worry, we will answer these questions.
Yeah.
Lots of good stuff is coming up. But if you have got questions, keep putting them in the Q&A box, because we'll get through them. Thank you.
There's 2 more slides. There's one slide from these guys on what they look for, and then one slide from my ex-apprentices.
Cool. Let's go.
Yeah.
Do it.
We'll whip through this one, but this is about what we look for as managers in the apprentices. Obviously, you come here as a blank page. We don't expect you to be able to hit the ground running, and I say the same when I'm hiring operators here. You come as a blank page. I don't expect you to have a knowledge. I can teach the knowledge, but what I can't teach is a good work ethic. So we ask you to come here with a good work ethic and a positive energy. So you're going to be working here as part of a team. To bring positivity to that team is an important thing. Anything to add on that, Sam?
Yeah, so I think, as we said, with the apprenticeship, it isn't one size fits all. We've got people here that are very academic. We've got people here that are more practically minded. But one of the things that they're all self-motivated, and they come to here to work and with a desire to learn. Some of the apprenticeship, the apprentices that we've got working for us at the moment, what they're all doing is they're asking questions when they've got uncertainties and things like that. And they're very versatile as our priorities change. And they're able to adapt in those situations, particularly through the coaching and some of the lessons that we're able to teach and provide them as they go through.
And the other point behind that, the box that says versatility, Neil already mentioned that we've got a vast number of skills. So we've actually drawn up a little skills matrix for each of the areas. So the apprentices spend 6 months in each one of the shop floors. So there's 6 rotations. And there's a little skills matrix of what we would expect you to learn in each one of those 6 areas. And each of those areas is probably 20 different skills. So, you need to be really versatile to come here prepared to want to learn. And the last box, I think Neil probably touched on a little bit earlier. It's that we want the candidates to show who they are in the assessment centres. Those assessment centres, they're designed as one assessment fits everybody. So if you were coming as a business apprentice, there's one particular assessment centre. It's the same assessment centre if you're coming in within manufacture. But we can only assess you when you're talking, and it's designed really to encourage people to be extroverts. But we don't always want extroverts in industry either. Neil mentioned it earlier. we also want introverts. We want the future managers, but we also want the future technicians. So it's not all about bringing in people who we see are going to be the future MD. It's about the person who's going to be the future 50-year-old technician who's happy in being a technician, because we do have them and they're very happy in their job and in their role. But we can only assess you on what we see in those assessment centers. So it's very much just about being yourself and bringing a really good character and bringing that positive energy that we mentioned earlier.
I think it's a good
Really?
point in terms of this as a business. It enables you to get your personality across in your role, and I think that's really key here. So don't come to these assessments or to the apprenticeship with a view on what we want you to be. Come here being you, and that's what we want to employ.
Yeah, I think for me, when you get asked the task of which company you're going to buy, when we're not testing you to see, cool, are you good at buying companies? Because that's not what you're coming here to do. You're coming here so we can see how you work as a team, how you structure your answers, how you communicate, how you take the thought process through. So how you take other people's decision. If you come to the assessment center and someone says the idea that's opposite of yours and you say, no way, mate, we're not looking for that. We're looking for you to take their ideas and say, yeah, I get that, but how about this? And just how you work with each other. That's what we're looking for. It's not exactly about that exam question of buying another company. Is there anything else you guys want to say about apprentices? You happy? Right. So now we're going to go to the brains of the team, of our team here, which is the ex-apprentices, Tom and Jade. I'm going to let Tom use my laptop so we can, so you can all hear him. Can you go to the next slide? Thanks, Max.
You go. And just to reiterate, everything that you've just heard there about assessment centres and the stuff that they're looking for, really take note of that and really make use of that knowledge, because that's exactly what assessment centres are about. It's about seeing what kind of person you are. But remember, I think it was Sam that just said it, don't try to show people what you think they want to see. Show them you and let them make the decision, and show them why you are going to be valuable to their company. But also similarly, understand that exactly what we said. Not every company is looking for everybody to be the next managing director, because there's only one of those. You need people to be able to do the job well, and to do the job with skill, but to do it with diligence as well, and to be able to work part of a team. If you can't do that, if you don't have that in these companies, they're not going to go forward. If you've got too many managing directors and nobody doing the work below them, then nothing's going to happen. So don't worry about what you think they need and what you think they're looking for. You be yourself and let them make the decisions, okay? And again, like I said, that's what I work with students to prepare them for in assessment centres and interviews and stuff. Okay, so like Neil said, we're going to hear from the important people now. Jade and Thomas.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
I don't mind. Jade, do you want to go first?
You can go first.
Oh, fine. All right. Yeah, so I'm Tom. So I joined Thales in 2018, and I joined on a level 3 manufacturing apprenticeship. So that took me 2 years to complete, after which I then finished my initial apprenticeship. So then, as Neil referred to earlier, I was put on an upskills course. So I was put onto a level 4 H&C in manufacturing and electronic engineering. And that's what I'm currently going through now. I'm in my first year of that. And that's, at the end of that, that's to basically work toward becoming an ME or manufacturing engineer. So yeah, through my rotations as an apprentice, once I finished that apprenticeship, I then got a secondment into the ME team, which is what I'm currently doing now on a 6-month term. And then at the end of that, that will be reviewed, and hopefully there'll be a position in that available for me. But so I found my apprenticeship through the gov.uk website. I think it's one that tends to be a bit overlooked, because quite often people tend to go actually to the companies, but that gov.uk website is actually a really good website because it gives you everything in the country, and also you can filter it down to whatever suits you, whatever you're looking for, and just suit it to your needs, really. Just the main benefit I wanted to talk about that I found personally at Thales is the potential to grow your career. So as I said, I finished my apprenticeship, but then I wanted to take it further and go on to more education. So straight away that same year I was put onto the level 4 H&C. And I know that once I complete that, there will be opportunity more for me to go on to my H&D. And as I know other apprentices have done, they've gone on to do degrees and higher education, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's just, there is so much potential really to grow your career and take it in whichever direction you want to. You could be doing engineering now. If you decide you want to steer your career at Thales into somewhere else, then that's always supported, and other apprentices have done it. So yeah, there's just a lot of potential really.
And Thomas, when you talk about that as well, so like you talked earlier about the rotations and stuff, and is that how you found what it was that you were going to be more excited about doing, and that's how you went forward? So the opportunities are there, is clear.
Yeah, so it's 6 monthly rotations as an apprentice. That way you get a feel through every department, and you get a feel for what the whole of Thales does. And yeah, you can really get a feel for where you want to go at the end of your career.
Fantastic, fantastic. And also the point that you made about the gov.uk website, I'll reiterate it because I talk to students about it all the time. You're so right, it is so overlooked. Everybody will go to that company's website. Use the government website, because almost every company in the UK has to advertise, or in England, excuse me, has to advertise their apprenticeship opportunities on the gov.uk website. There's very few companies that don't advertise them now. I think Rolls-Royce is one of them, but it shows you, like Thomas said, you can filter down into the area that you live in or where you want to go, the area that you want to work in, and all of that information you can see. But remember, it's important to check it on a regular basis. Don't just check it once at the beginning of the year, because as you've seen today, Thales will open their opportunities in November. So that'll start to be on the government website in November. It won't be there now because the opportunities aren't live. So check it regularly. Thank you.
Guess it's my turn.
Go for it, Jane.
So I originally, first of all, I went to college after leaving school. I knew what I wanted to do. I took part in STEM events at my secondary school, and this made me realise that actually I wanted to get into engineering. So I went off to some small piece engineering residentials, then went on to study my level 3 BTEC. During this, I went to some careers fair. There was one held at the college, which was specifically dedicated to apprenticeships, which is where I met the previous hiring manager. Got speaking with him, met an apprentice at the time. He said, "Oh, did you want to come down for a site tour?" Arranged for that. Realised I liked the look of the company. I liked what they offered, so applied for the apprenticeship. Went through all the similar assessment centre process. With that, got an offer. Started in September, where I started to study for a level 4 HNC on a level 3 apprenticeship, because that's how it worked at the time. And alongside that, studied towards a level 3 NVQ. The NVQ is very helpful to realise actually what you're learning, the benefits of it. You actually realise you know more than what you do. So I completed that within 2 years. Same as Tom, completed 6-month rotations. During my time doing the rotations, an opportunity came up to support manufacturing engineering. So I took up the opportunity, as I knew I wanted to develop, and I knew sort of being on the shop floor wasn't for me. So took that up, and from there, my progression into manufacturing engineering technician role sort of begun. A role came up for me, decided I still want to further my education. And then that's when I moved on to the level 4 apprenticeship, and been doing that for a year, completed my HNC, HND, and here I am. So I suppose the one thing for me, bit of advice would be go to these career fairs, because they are very helpful, and it gets you talking to them straight away, gets your name recognised, and then they can also put a face to a name as well. A lot of the benefits that I would probably say from the apprenticeship have sort of already been said. The key statement, earning whilst you learn. I know some of my other friends were doing apprenticeships and I was on a lot more than what they were. But it has its benefits. You're learning on the job at the time, and you are applying the skills that you're learning at college. And sometimes you actually sit there and go, oh, okay, I didn't realise this is what I'm learning at college, and it is beneficial. And I have put in there obviously about the employee benefits of the company, which I won't go into too much detail about, but no, Thales have been really supportive, and they're willing to sort of progress me more as well, which I really like. So I'm hoping to go on to a higher apprenticeship after this one to complete my BEng in electrical engineering, hopefully.
That's fantastic. A lot of so much useful information. And listening to Tom and Jade speaking about the opportunities that are being put in front of them. And somebody was saying earlier, why is it that apprenticeships are not viewed as highly as other qualification routes? Like I said, by companies, apprenticeships are viewed very highly. And in fact, you can see it because the amount of investment that is going in. And we're not just talking about it. This isn't just a piece of paper that Tyler's puts up and says, yeah, we invest in it and this is what you can do. You're hearing it from real people who are doing it and have explored opportunities, and opportunities have become available to them as they've seen them and experienced different things. And the support has been there to move into other areas. It is really important for companies. So it's great to hear that from both of you and both of those different pieces of advice. Go to careers fairs, absolutely go to careers fairs, because otherwise Jade would never have found this opportunity if she hadn't have gone. But with that, what I will say, a lot of things are being done virtually at the moment, and they are still so valuable because of what Jade just said. You're meeting the people. Think if you guys today have met these people from Thales, and in November you apply and you're sitting in front of potentially Neil or Nick, and you're saying, well, actually I came to an event that was held by Pathway earlier this year and I learned about Thales and that's why I'm interested in joining. Oh yeah, I remember that event that we did. You've got a foot in. It's a topic of conversation, but it shows that you're interested and you're already doing your research to get into somewhere. So there's a couple of questions that we've been asked, and Tom's actually answered one of them for us, which is great.
That was me. Sorry, I was on Tom's laptop. Yeah, I was on Tom's laptop. So just a quick point, Max, just before you move on, just to say how important it is, Tom and Jade are proper MEs now. So just to say how important it is. So they've just finished their apprenticeship. Jade is the lead ME on a product, and Tom is the lead ME on product. So when I went to get Tom for this meeting, he's on a forklift. He's helping sort out a machine. He's leading the conversation. They are in real important jobs. So they've taken the apprenticeship. They've taken a step into ME, which I don't fully support because it's away from me, but they're in really important jobs. They're manufacturing engineering. They are telling us the engineering side of what we make. Now that role, this is the other important bit, is in every single company I go to. As a procurement manager, every supplier has got an ME. Leonardo in helicopters, I had about 40. So the skills they are learning here, they can apply anywhere they want. If Thales isn't the right route, which we hope it is, we hope they're here for a very long time, it's a skill you can take elsewhere. They're also the youngest MEs we obviously have here. So they're the growth. They're the people we're going to look to in the future for investment. And so, yeah, for two people that have just finished their apprenticeship, very, very highly rated people that are doing a real job in this company. They make the company happen. So it's very important to recognize that you're not just in the background, they're leading conversations with senior people every day. So just wanted to make that point that it's a real job when you finish this.
That's a point that is very well made, and it was very important to make as well. And I think one of the things that I'll take out of that is when you hear that position is available in every company that Neil goes to visit in terms of procurement. So many companies that open so many doors and so many opportunities. This isn't just an opportunity that exists in Thales. They can take that anywhere they go. So if you're looking at apprenticeships and you're looking at the future and you're thinking, well, where's my apprenticeship going to take me? It can take you to so many different things. Right, now I know it's 6 o'clock and we said the session finishes at 6, but we have got a few questions and I'm going to hope that these guys are okay to stay for an extra 5 minutes.
Okay.
So let's get these questions sorted then. We've heard from people. So the question earlier was so you took 9 out of how many applicants, and it was 22 candidates applied, 9 have been taken and 9 of them were the assessment centre, which shows that the assessment centre is not a competition because 9 were right for the role, so 9 were taken.
That's right.
That's good.
Yeah.
Somebody earlier did mention, and when we asked about the pay, and you said, you let us know whether you think that pays any good. Somebody's come back and said it's brilliant pay, so that's good.
Okay, good.
And then, so what if you want to take on engineering, but you don't have an A-level in physics? What happens then? Can you still do it?
Well, if you want to come into manufacturing engineer, so into our engineering apprenticeship, but you haven't got an A-level.
Yeah.
No, I think actually I saw the entry the other day and I can't remember what the entry into how many grades is it at GCSE? Guys, you know?
No, I'm not sure.
On how many? So I think our applications is 4 C and above GCSE.
There you go.
But there's another pathway as well. If you don't want to take an engineering apprenticeship, you can come into manufacturing and you can learn your trade through manufacturing. And you're learning engineering qualifications at college. And we have a lot of people after their apprenticeship who prove themselves, and their natural progression is into engineering.
Yeah.
We had someone recently move across who was an ex-apprentice, went on to become a tester, who then transitioned into engineering. It's a natural flow. So if your grades aren't good enough to go directly into an engineering apprenticeship, then we can take a lesser grade within manufacturing, and it's still that pathway. You're still building that career within industry to move into engineering realm.
Just to explain that, there's two types of engineering here, which is where it gets confusing. So our engineering apprenticeship is for manufacturing, so on the shop floor. So that is 4 grade C and above. The other engineering is direct into engineering. That would probably need a degree.
So design and engineering essentially is what we're talking
so
about.
So like the clever boffins in the office designing the sonar. So the guys that actually come up with the technical spec is a different path that would need a degree.
I think with that kind of role though, having the hands-on background and the manufacturing experience really does help you, because you could design something, it comes over to manufacturing and actually it's a load of rubbish. It just doesn't work together. So having that hands-on experience, you can look at it and go, well, actually, no, that wouldn't work because of this. So even if you're thinking, actually, I want to go into engineering, but not really sure on the hands-on stuff, it does help. It does benefit you in the role.
Perfect. So there you go. So
Massively.
you can see there that there's so many different ways of getting into this, and it's not just the one way of getting in. Different things will lead to different areas, but also you can start. You might not have the grades to get into university. You might not have the grades to think that you can go and do a degree or do a degree apprenticeship. But actually, you can start somewhere lower and work your way up. So somebody has asked that they're currently doing a level 3. I'm not 100% sure what the question means, but they're currently doing a level 3. So what apprenticeship could they come and do? But if somebody's got a level 3, they could come and join you and start on a level 4 if it's available, right?
Yeah. So we've taken on, in the last 2 years, we've got 4 people at 4 and above, I think. So you come through the assessment center with everyone else, and then dependent on your qualifications already and your experience, you get given the level then.
Perfect.
So we have an expectation of what we're trying to get, but we take what we have and then we assign the level. So yeah, it's dependent on your experience. But if you've got that, you'd go to the next. We wouldn't make you redo it. We'd put you onto the high level. Yeah.
And I suppose that answers the question that I was going to ask, actually, because earlier you mentioned about having people on the shop floor that are like 16 years old. So there is that opportunity that after GCSE, somebody doesn't want to go on and do A levels or go to college, they can come to you and start an apprenticeship, and that would be at level 2, right? And then they can work their way up.
Yeah. So like I said, this year we took on 9, and it was a mixed bag. I think it was 6 at the lower level GCSE, and then the rest were more mature and had some more background. So yes, it's a mix. I mean, apprenticeships when I was younger was always you finished school, you left school, and you went into your apprenticeship. That was how it was always seen, but it's moved on so much from then. I think one of the guys that's applied is a bus driver. He's 27. He fancied it. That's his current career. He's done other things, and he said, "Well, he wants a career now," and that's why he's gone for it. And he was fantastic.
Fantastic. And that's the other opportunity with apprenticeships as well, is that there's no age range. Just like university, you can go to university any age you want. It doesn't have to be straight after A levels, and apprenticeships are the same. Right, 2 last things for me to say. Have you got any last questions? Put them in the Q&A box. I'm just sharing a link with everybody, and I want you to click on that link and fill out that little form for us, and give us a bit of feedback on the event tonight and how we can help you further. And like I said, if you are a parent or you're a teacher or you're a student, go to our website, pathwayctm.com. And if you're a student, sign up with us and we can support you with when these applications become open. We can support you to come into other events that we do. Like we talked about careers fairs, we do insights events, and we can help you with all of that kind of stuff. So sign up with us. And if you're a parent and you want to sign up as well, we'll give you information. So when Tyler's give us more information about opportunities that they've got, we'll send it out to you, and everything else that we do as well. And the same for teachers. So that's all there. That form, fill it out for me. We don't have any other questions coming in just yet. However, I want to say thank you to everybody else, especially to Jade and to Thomas, to come along and to speak about your experience and to give your advice as well has been really good. And I know that the students will appreciate it. But then obviously, thank you to all of you guys from Tyler's that come along tonight, giving up an hour of your time to speak about opportunities, your experiences and what's going on. I know that the students have really appreciated it. I've learned a lot and I hope you guys have as well. I hope you've all enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been fantastic for us as well. Thank you for having us.
You're more than
Thank you.
welcome. And there's a few people saying thank you in the chat box as well. So guys, there are no more questions. I'm going to stop the recording and everybody can go and enjoy their evenings and enjoy